Chase Lee Hockey with the blue futon. And out of the box or out of the wall, whatever you want to call it, we now have 300, the 4K edition. Ooh, Steelbook. I was afraid to do it. So this is the 4K version. Have I seen 300? Yes, of course. Who has not seen 300? But let me go rewatch 300 and let you know. Were these 300 men worth it? Let's find out. So 300, what's it about? Well, it's pretty easy. 300 Spartans need to face off against the Persians. Will they survive? 300 versus a million? It'll be kind of hard. But will they do it? First off, let's look at the 4K quality of the movie. So with the movie like this, it's very interesting with the 4K transfer because the problem is the very CGI heavy movie. Absolutely, extremely CGI heavy. So when transferring that to the 4K, it works on some levels. The big issue is when you have like Gerard Butler's character walking through like a real set and then going to the green screen part. You could easily tell like his cape getting dragged on the ground where it like the lines between the green screen. It's very, very noticeable in 4K, and it actually shows. It doesn't look good on some of those levels, but when it comes to like the fight scenes and the background, it does look pretty good. It is the sound that's actually better, kind of like knowing this is where the sound is better rather than the film quality or actually the transfer quality. But I feel like with movies like this, where it is a very, very heavy mix of CGI, practical, but very much more of on a set instead of real life, because one like Transformers in 4K looks phenomenal because a lot of what Michael Bay does actually out in the open, out in the real world, transferring over. This is more in a warehouse green screen. So you could very much tell a difference with the 4K quality. I got something in my throat. Okay, that's better. So overall, it is worth the transfer for the 4K, but don't expect anything drastically like, oh my goodness! It's more of like, yeah, that looks pretty good, and it sounds great. So with this movie, it is a fun movie. It is very easy to get lost in this movie because it's very stylized, a fun watch, very graphic, very violent, and it's very much a singular location, which I totally forgot it was. For some reason, I was expecting this was like a more scopy movie, and what I mean by that is actually like in different locations. Yeah, you're at the hometown of the Spartacus. Spartacus? No, Chase. Wrong movie. Yes, you're in the hometown of where the Spartans are at, and of course they're going to basically meet the Persians at this singular location to try to kill as many as possible by building walls and everything like that. So after watching it again, I realized, oh snap, this is actually very much a singular movie of them fighting in one spot and having all the Persians come to them. But has great acting in it. Gerard Butler has Michael Fassbender and other people in it, and it is a fun 2-hour movie. Very quick, very simplistic movie based on the comic book by Frank Millar, and it is a fun movie to watch. It's hard to say. Great directing, great writing, great looking movie. Yeah, there are some flaws with it about how realistic you really want the movie to be and how people. I mean, Zack Snyder does that a lot. He's very much a stylized director, and some people might not like that. People might want more substance with him. And a lot of his movies are more like that, except I really like Man of Steel, and I know that has an iffy point. But 300 is more style than substance. But with the movie with 300 men trying to defeat a bunch of Persians, millions of them, thousands of them, it's a very simplistic storyline. So Zack Snyder is probably the perfect director to make it as stylized, cool, neat, awesome movie as possible. So that's the only negative I would say is a little bit too much style, but it is such a fun movie to watch. Too easy to watch at some levels because you're glued to the screen. You're like, ooh, what's the next action scene? Ooh, what's the next action scene? And that's the good thing about this one. You have the elongated shots of like following Gerard Butler, so you could tell there are CGI stuff in the background, but a lot of the battling itself wasn't CGI. Of course, you're going to have CGI post-production with the blood and the limbs coming off, but you could actually tell the actual fighting in this movie was not CGI, and I appreciate that where they try to do as much possible realistic stunts. But yeah, that's what I gotta say about this movie. But before I give you my review and Rotten Tomatoes, for some reason I feel like this movie isn't going to do that good with the critics just because you're gonna be like, oh, toxic masculinity, all these chiseled men, so toxic. But let's find out. But I will give 300 a 4 out of 5 with Futon, so it goes at 80%. So let's see what the critics' news scores did give this film. So you do have the critics a 61% with 236 of them, and the audience score an 89% with over 250,000 of them. I do remember a story coming out when this came out where someone like kicked someone down the stairs and they got arrested for it, but yelling, "This is Sparta." I remember that for some reason. It did come out in 2006, but here's critic consensus. A simple-minded but visually exciting experience, full of blood, violence, and ready-made movie quotes. I have to agree. Let's see if my, consensus of why it's kind of low is because of masculinity issues. Let's find out at some of the rotten reviews. I rarely do this, but let's just do it real quick. First page. Some ass crack ugly. I don't know what that means. Twist the brawn. They're calling it dumb, one-dimensional characters. But I mean, the characters are there to fight and fight for their land. I mean, what else do you want from them? Toxic masculinity, basically too much testosterone. Stupid action movie with too many men. It's like, fuck off. That's what I so hate about that. You can say, oh, there's too much men, but when Birds of Prey comes out, such a great movie, with the action scenes that are absolutely fucking horrendous in 90% of that film. So do you agree? 89, 80, 61. Chase Young at the Blue Futon.com. Subscribe. One of the things, Blue Futontopia, you Blue Tonians. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And it's sequel time. Let's roll this film back.